Underneath this sheet lies my magnum opus, the reason I was put on this earth. A collection of miniatures of the most fearsome aliens known to science fiction. And here they are. Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle, and boy, do I have a project. I love Star Wars and I love wargaming, so naturally I like the game Star Wars Legion. In fact, I love it this much. Star Wars Legion is an epic tabletop army game that pits the four major factions from the Star Wars universe against each other. The Rebel Alliance, the Imperials, the Grand Army of the Republic, and the Confederacy of Independent Systems droid forces. But somehow, one faction was left out, and you probably know which one I'm talking about, maybe from the title, the Gungans. Pronounced Gungan, spelt Gungan, and if you're George Lucas, you call them Gungas. Probably one of the coolest things to come out of Star Wars The Phantom Menace. Maybe a little bit cooler than pod racers, although slightly below Darth Maul's double-sided lightsaber. I've wanted a Gungan army for tabletop wargaming, but no such thing existed. So with a little creativity, I made my own. Specifically, these are 3D prints. Designed by a maker called Black Remnant, this gives me a proper Gungan army, complete with Booma Throwas, Electro Pole Warriors, Kadu Riders, Sesto Wielders, and my Bombad General, Captain Ruse Tarples. And almost all of my militia gungs are armed with the iconic Gungan energy shields. So let me show you what I got to bring my grand army of the Gungas to life. Obviously, I have my Gungans printed in beautiful Siraya Tech resin, but you might also have noticed I've got these. These are action figure Gungan Catapults from Star Wars Episode 1, and looking at how yellow these boxes are, I suspect they are from 1999 when the movie came out. These were dirt cheap. For some reason, it seems like not a lot of people are trying to pick up the Gungan Catapults, so those are gonna be my heavy support choices for this army. I've got some green grass flock. This is basically just green foam glued to stiff paper. I have some scraps left over from another project, so hopefully I can get away with just using the scraps, but I will do what I must. And I have lots of Legos. I've been using little pieces of wood as my painting handles, but I actually think I might have something here using Legos instead, so I'll be trying that out. And this. This is gonna play an integral role in this army, I swear. I needed to purchase this. All right, let's go. I removed all the energy shields. These will get a different paint treatment later. For now, I want to get all the Gungas ready. I used double stick tape to hold the Gungan's feet onto the Lego bricks. Now I can stick them all down onto a long plate piece and it'll make for a perfect modular priming handle. What I want to get out of this project is perhaps the world's only grand army of the Gungas. And what I want you all to get out of this project is I want to impart every single piece of information that exists on the Gungas, because I know everything, and I don't want to be the only one. I have 39 Gungan models in total, not including the Kadu Riders or Catapults. This will be quite an endeavor. Now with my Gungans all held securely on my patent-pending Lego mini holder, I gave them a black prime. I always prime my minis black as I find it easier to work dark to light instead of light to dark. Ooh, okay, I've got a bunch of dark Gungans, which look actually a little bit cool. I am going to be doing a Zenithal highlight to begin the painting process. Zenithal highlight is replicating light when the sun is at its zenith, which should give me a really, really good look of the beautiful rolling green, perfectly manicured golf course-like rolling plains of Naboo. But I'm not gonna be using white paint. White paint tends to look really, really good on cold things, armor, machinery, robots, things that are very warm and lively like these Gungans I think will benefit from a little bit of a dark tan. A Zenithal creates my highlights for me. It's a map to where the brightest spots should be on the final mini. The Gungans are the native inhabitants of the mid-rim world of Naboo. They have very amphibious features, and although they have a warrior culture, they actually highly value peace. All the Gungans I am painting are called the Atola Gungans, one of the two Gungan species. The other is the Ankura. You might have thought that Boss Nass was just really fat, but in fact, he is a different species. I have my Aquatic Legion all ready for painting, and that means it's time to move the painting desk. With that dark tan highlight, my militia gungs look a lot more like the battle droids they faced off against at the climax of the Phantom Menace. To paint my gungs, I'm going to be using Army Painter Speed Paint, a thick transparent paint so that my dark tan will always be showing through. First, brown tan to bring out the detail of the Gungan's skin. Then a gray to color the flumposet leather pants of the Gungans. I'm putting these colors down thick and then while they're still wet, pulling them away from the light spots. After that, some dark brown on their wonky belt buckles, military shawls, and Adaladdle, the Booma thrower weapon. Now this might seem like a silly step, but I airbrushed a little tan over the brown parts of his clothing. This is more of a speed painting trick, an easy thing I can do to give them some simple highlights. Now onto the armor. I put orange over his chest, wrist armor, and the accent of his veil. I used yellow paint to highlight his orange armor. Then to give this Gunga the classic orange patches, I glazed a dark orange around his eyes and shoulders. Most Gungans have orange markings, but some have green and purple patches. After that, I sponged some white paint onto his Booma to give it that glittery energy look. Gungan Boomas are collections of natural plasma harvested from the core of Naboo and contained within bubble pod paste. To make it look like the movie, I mixed blue and purple together and applied this over top. And that is a speedy Gungan ready to defend Otto Gunga from the evil Trade Federation. Or the Naboo. They don't like the Naboo. They think their brains are so big. This guy was super quick. I wonder just how quick. I am gonna time it. I designed this paint scheme around being fast. Transparent layers of paint take advantage of each other and means I don't have to apply as many coats of paint or highlights, which is great for rank and file fellas like these Gungas. 17 minutes to finish a Gungan. And you know what? I'm shaving off 2 minutes because my airbrush clogged and that set me back. So 15 minutes to finish a Gungan. Let me just pull out a random number, 2 hours and 11 minutes. In 2 hours and 11 minutes, I could finish 14 Gungans. And 2 hours and 11 minutes just happens to be exactly the length of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So I wanna see how many Gungans can I finish in one viewing of the greatest Star Wars movie ever made. It's not a very good movie. Not one line of dialogue in the entire film makes any sense, but I love it. I don't know. I think the other two, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, are technically superior because they're closer to actually being real movies, but something about The Phantom Menace, I just really dig it. It also has a different color palette. It's just a little brighter and friendlier than the other two movies. And this film review has gone on long enough. I've stalled just enough time to finish the 18th Gungan in just a hair over 2 hours and 11 minutes. Time to tackle these shields. Wargaming miniatures are pretty much universally opaque, but these shields are printed in clear resin with a bit of pink tint thrown in, and they really look the part of the Gungan personal energy shields. This was all made possible with today's sponsor. Siraya Tech resin is absolutely the highest quality resin we've used on any project. We've been using their resin for several months now after getting fed up with having issues with other brands. Not only would we have issues with supports forming, even with ideal conditions and after many exposure tests, but getting supports off spindly models was a bummer. I like using fast ABS like Navy Gray because once dialed in, I've had no failures like supports not fully forming. And the resin has a little bit of give unlike cheaper resins. So I don't have to worry about removing supports and damaging my models. If you need a little extra flex, you can add 10% tenacious flexible resin to fast Navy Gray to give yourself even more durability without compromising resolution or color. Just knowing that I don't have to worry about whether the resin will do the job makes printing a lot more fun. And of course, that brings us to Ultra Clear Craft Resin, a non-yellowing transparent resin. That's what was used for the Gungan's shields and dyed with a pink epoxy resin pigment. After printing, use sanding or a gloss varnish to remove the fogginess. This gives us so many ideas of what we can make in the future. Follow the link in the description to try Siraya Tech resin today. The Gunga energy shields don't look like energy as much as a transparent membrane, and to replicate that look from the film, I mixed some blue and magenta ink into my airbrush and sprayed this around the inside edge of each shield to make a gradient between this part and the natural pink of the resin. I sprayed this on the inside so that the outside would remain nice and shiny with the purple showing through. Then came the painstaking task of carefully base coating the hard edges of the shields. My Gungans were so quick to paint, but each shield basically doubles the painting time. After I had the trim all picked out, I finished off the shields by giving them a brown wash and painting the arms to match the Gungans. I super glued them onto the militia guns and they were looking pretty snazzy. I love a gimmick, and having the miniatures with clear shields just like in the movie is so much fun and makes these models look super unique. The Gungans may have the offensive capabilities of kids with water balloons, but at least they have laser-proof shields to keep them safe. Now onto the Kadoo. I painted them up using the same recipe I did on the Gungans, and my favorite feature on them are these humongous feathers that decorate the saddles. You may be asking yourself, I wonder where those came from. Well, in fact, they are plucked by the Gungans from a humongous creature called the Tatavian Gothbird, a near legendary creature that warrior Gungans must find and pluck feathers off of to prove themselves as warriors. These Gungans are not just soldiers, but veterans, skilled warriors who have a rich history of life on Naboo. One thing I did notice about the Kadoo that's a little worrying is don't they look kind of exactly like the Gungans? Like, to a worrying degree? It'd be a little bit like if soldiers rode gorillas. Like, it's fine, but I would really love to see the Naboo evolutionary tree of whatever creature eventually would break off and become the mighty empire of the Gungas and become the horse-like bird frog that is the Kadoo. With my Gungan warriors out of the way, the only thing left to do is to work on my leader. And it's always a good idea to work a little harder on your leaders to make sure that they're a cut above. And speaking of a cut above, I can't imagine a better bombad general to lead my militia gungs into battle than Captain Roose Tarples, who not only is a good general, but also seems like a really nice guy. When he met up with Jar Jar Binks, it seemed like he was genuinely disappointed that Jar Jar had shown back up again and he needed to be punished. And when Jar Jar got promoted to bombad general, he took it in stride and he actually stayed by Jar Jar's side the entire battle. Good guy. And with all that done, I think it's time to now take a look at those catapults. All right, I have been dying to open these up. What is this called? Does it have the name? The Gungan Catapult Accessory Set with super bright lights. Technically wrong, this is the Gungan Energy Catapult, or the Wazbooma. No, it might be Wazbooma from the noise that the energy balls make as they fly through the air and then land on their targets. Now I think these are pretty rare and valuable, so I should try to be a little careful. Oh, they're so sticky. Oh no. I was really excited about it. It came with a bunch of clear energy balls, but clearly time has not been well for them because, man, I don't want to touch those. Oh, all right, so I'm back from washing my hands. I really had to scrub to get whatever was on these off my hands. Maybe I'll give these a soak in some alcohol to see if maybe that'll come off, because I would like to include these. I think that they would look really nice sitting next to the launcher, but ugh. All right. Really? Am I playing with it wrong? It's quite a process not to punch yourself with this while you're flinging it. And I would have thought that it would go up higher or have some sort of a rubber band. Got a knob that doesn't seem to do much. And a wheel. These would be wheeled out into battle. I don't believe that the Fombas brought these. I think it was the Falumpasets that actually dragged these along. And they also dragged the extra ammunition. Yep, well, it's not much of a toy, but it'll totally do the job as a miniature. But this miniature is going to need a base, and actually my Kadoo riders also are gonna need bases, and that's why I bought this. I don't actually need a sign that says generations of love, all that we are and all that we hope to be, we owe to our loving family. It's a bit of a poem. What I really wanted was the 3/8 inch board that this is made out of. This will make a great material to make the bases out of. I took some tools to this inspirational plaque to break it down into its elements. Gotta say, it felt a little weird chiseling away the word family. It feels like I'm creating some kind of a performance art, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I found a round thing the size of the base I wanted and I traced it onto my 3/8 inch board. For the Kudu Rider's 40mm bases, I could just trace one of my Legion bases, but for the big ones, I have to do a little math. I found the middle of each circle and drew on a center line, so I knew where to put the notch that Legion bases have. They use these for the movement templates that tell you where you can move to. I have my designs all marked out, and now it's time to go through the door. Yes, the door. The door that's always been on the EonsOfBattle set, but never opened until now. It's not actually all that exciting. Just a little bit of water damage and my saw. This is a scroll saw, a perfect power tool for hobbying. It can cut most stuff, it's very accurate, and it's pretty safe to use. In no time at all, I had cut out all my bases. I sanded the edges smooth with some 150 grit sandpaper and deburred the edges with a foam sanding block. And now, instead of a tacky sign, I have perfect replicas of the Star Wars Legion bases ready for my Gungas. I primed the edges of these bases with some black spray paint, and then I glued my green model railroad grass right on top. The weapons of the Gungans are made of a material called hornweed, a golden brown plant which grows in the swamps of Naboo. I really like that the Gungans were made to be very familiar but alien, with their tech mirroring ancient human stuff but made of coral and plasma instead of metal and fire. Oh, they're so close to being done. The only thing left to do is to paint the brim of the base, and what color should I paint them? Black is the obvious choice, but I'm actually thinking purple, and for a very specific reason. One of the big reasons why I love the Gungans is a little game called Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. It's an adorable RTS that plonks you right down in the Star Wars universe with a command center and a couple of workers, and you build up huge armies to crush your enemies with. My favorite faction to play in this game was the Gungans. You can select an accent color so you can tell your guys apart from the enemy, and I always picked purple. So painting the rim of the base a purple will be a fun nod to the thousands of hours playing with the digital Gungans on my parents' Windows Vista computer. They are finished, the Gungans. And this project isn't just a meme, haha, Gungans from the bad Star Wars movie. No, this is not a joke. I genuinely love the Gungans. Growing up, my family had a VCR, but not many tapes, and one of those few tapes was Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, so I have seen that film hundreds and hundreds of times. I would pore over Star Wars books that I would get from my local library, and they had such an impact on me that when I became an adult, I went out and I purchased copies of those books for myself so I can reread them over and over for the rest of my life. And the artist behind Jar Jar, Terrell Whitlatch, is one of my all-time favorite artists. She's probably the best artist in the world at capturing animal anatomy, both real and fictional, and her work continues to inspire me every day to make things like this Gungan army. I love the Gungans, perhaps more than anyone else, and certainly more than anyone should. They are a big part of why I'm a Star Wars fan and a huge nerd in general. Let me know in the comments, what is some weird little thing from a movie or a book or a comic that is just your jam, that you love everything about? For me, it's the Gungans, and I wanna know what that thing is for you. I now have my Gungan army, and I am very proud of it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching. Oh, and one last thing, Jar Jar sucks and is not funny.
Gungas.